if the commissioners agree, would be to, looking at your agenda, we would change or move forward to, right after approval of the minutes, items 8 through 13, which are kind of a routine at closing of the meeting, so we'll get those taken care of while we're waiting for our attorney to be here. And we do want him to make sure that he's here and can guide us in the case of any issues or concerns that might come up that we're not aware of right at this point. So at this point, I would make a motion that we move the agenda items 8, which is unfinished business, public input, new business, commissioners' matters, city attorney matter, and staff matters, 8 through 13, to move that up before item 6. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Yes, we have a choice. No.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Just to be clear, Janet, would you give us a roll call on the vote, please?
Yes, before that, would you please give me the name of the person who made the motion and the person who seconded it?
Hugan.
Bob Hugan seconded it, and I made the motion, Joel Roth.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kizzelbosch.
Yes.
Mr. Roth.
Yes?
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Hugan.
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
And Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
It is unanimous in favor. Motion passes.
Thank you. Then we will proceed in that fashion on the agenda. At this point, then, we will take up item number 5, which is approval of minutes of the 2 meetings, October 7th and October 14th. So what we'll do is address the minutes of October 7th first. And I think the commissioners by now have had an opportunity to read them. Are there any adjustments, corrections to the October 7th meeting minutes as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the Planning and Zoning minutes, agency minutes of October the 7th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Simmons made the motion and Mr. Carter seconded it, that they be accepted as presented. Let's just do a voice vote on this one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll vote aye. Opposed? Unanimously approved. Janet, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Next would be the October 14th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Local Planning Agency minutes. And again, we've had opportune time to look at them. Any of the commissioners have any questions, comments, or corrections?
Good.
Hearing none, we could have a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented. Minutes of the October 14th, 2021 meeting.
We have a motion, a second.
Second.
Mr. Carter made a second.
Same.
Did you get the names on that, Janet?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the October 14th, 2021 minutes as submitted with no corrections. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye. Yes.
I'll vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Janet, you're doing a good job. That's 2 for 2. At this point now, since we made the motion earlier and approved it, we will flip in our sheets to item 8 in our agenda, which is unfinished business. Does the staff have any unfinished business on the agenda? Any of the commissioners? Okay, there is no unfinished business, so item 8, unfinished business, is taken care of. Next item would be public input. It's a little bit unusual at this point, but the items on the agenda are open for comment at this point. However, keep in mind that if you're here on a particular item that's on the agenda, there will be time to speak on it at that time, which probably would be most appropriate.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I would recommend that if there's someone here to talk about the items on the agenda, they do it during the agenda items, because that is what's going to be recorded and taken into
That's
consideration. Correct. At this point, public input is for anything that's not on the agenda.
Right.
It's other than agenda. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you.
So anyone have input on items other than on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move forward then. New business. That's item 10. The staff have any items of new business? Okay, no new business. Commissioners, any other new business? Okay, we have none.
Hold on, are you in Commissioners Matters?
No, new business.
Oh, new business, okay.
New business. I'm sorry, I asked about comments on new business. Now, item 11, which is Commissioners Matters, and this would be about concerns that the commissioners have, not really on items that are on the agenda, because we'll be talking about that later, but items that the commissioners have that they want to be brought to the commission at this point. Anyone that have...
I've just got a comment for staff. I understand that you had a Metropolitan Planning Association meeting, or?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you correctly.
I'll maybe get my microphone closer. Okay, is that better? Yeah, you guys attended a Metropolitan Planning Association? It sounds terrific. Do you have any comments
Yes.
on it, or?
Well, I actually presented.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yes, a little presentation PowerPoint. We were asked, each municipality, so Vero Beach and myself, I'm sorry, I hope you can hear me, did a little presentation on some of the things that the city has been working on. And so, of course, we mentioned our Sustainable Sebastian, our IPM plans, the Working Waterfront Distribution Center that was completed. I can't remember everything else. Oh, our comp plan. It was really about our comp plan that we actually finished it, and you know, it really cements the vision for the city, and we're moving forward with everything in the comp plan. So I just did a quick little short take, and then we all broke into groups and discussed different items of what do we think of cluster development, what do we think of the new town development, trying to remember everything else. Agribusinesses.
I was very interested in
that.
that. I've done some studying, and I wish I could have been there.
Yes, and it was very interesting, and then the different groups, I think there was 5 of us, we all kind of gave a summary, and then they're going to take that information. I'm not sure what they're doing with it, but it was a very nice exercise, and we were grateful that the county opened that up for all of us to participate. So thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Cristino.
Okay, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, is that something that we might want to communicate to the citizens of your participation in what you did and how you're bringing some fame and acclaim to the city of Sebastian?
Only if you want to. I mean, you know, we had, we had a couple commissioners there, and of course, Mr. Carlisle was there, and he participated too, and, you know, I just did the presentation, and participated, but I'm not sure what we would say about it. I think it's more important to see what the county does with it, with all of our input, and how it comes out in the future. I think that's going to be a nice exercise.
Okay.
Are you-
Because of my background, I'm very aware of that, and I think that, you know, this whole agenda tonight brings back up to the surface the work that we all put together on the comprehensive plan, and I had submitted a draft on something to go to the media on it, and I don't know what became of that. It kind of gave credit to all those people in the city that worked on it. Is that appropriate yet to perhaps bring that back up to the surface? And because this is bringing new light to that situation.
Well, I would agree, and I passed it up the chain. I would be happy to ask again if we'd like to do a little article about it. I always find it to be a good exercise to promote the city and all of the good work we do. Perhaps Sebastian Daly would want to at least, I think they said something positive after we got finished, did they not?
It was in the PJ.
Yeah, it was in TC Pond.
Was it in TC Palm?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that Sebastian, well, I don't know. I shouldn't say,
I'm
but
sorry. Did you clip it perchance?
I didn't, I memorized it.
Oh. So it's that short, 2 sentences.
Lisa, is that PowerPoint going to be someplace that people can look at it?
the one that I did?
Yeah.
Sure, I could post it. It was mainly just graphics, and I use them as talking points, but I'd be
Okay.
happy to put something together and show you what I
I
did.
just wondered if it was out there someplace. If not, don't worry about it.
It might be with the county if they did it, but I mean, I'd be happy to post that. I mean, it's
Okay.
really not a problem.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Was that open to the public or just to officials?
The MPO meeting, I think there was some citizen representation there, because at my table, there was a few citizens there, so.
In the future,
I don't know
is there
how
a
they
way
found
to-
out about it or how they ended up participating, but.
Yeah, I thought it could have been educational for commissioners. Is there a way to notify us in the future prior?
Absolutely. I would think, and I haven't checked, I am so very sorry, but I would think that Indian River County has something posted on their website regarding the workshop, and possibly summaries, and possibly my PowerPoint. I will check and see what's going on and let you all know. How's that?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate maybe a link on underneath your area in the plan to that report or the presentation. I'd love to see it too.
Okay.
Okay, any other commissioners' matters to bring up?
I just one question with the city. For the last meeting where we had 2 lot subdivision for Mr. Brook, and I think that matters should be in the hand of code enforcement, because it's give a bad picture, you know, the property, silt fence in a bad shape, and a pile of dirt's there.
So it has already been brought to the special
Good.
magistrate in 2019. It went before, there was a formal order, and they are accruing $100 a day until the subdivision is finished. So it is an open code enforcement case until it is abated, which is going to be the recordation of the final plat. It is already under code enforcement, an order.
All right, that's it, yeah.
Might as well do it while we're here. Quick question. Have you heard anything on the Squid Lips project? Have they made any headway? They're under.
So Squid Lips, right before it came before you, we were comfortable with their buildings in that they submitted at their own risk the building permits. So the project was approved at July 15th meeting, and since then they have gone through the process of getting those building permits, the structural part reviewed, and also there was a little bit of holdup, but we finally got everything, the jurisdictional permits, the DEP for the stormwater, their health department permits, all of that. So yes, so as of this week, the permit for the over the water restaurant has been issued. You'll probably see some activity down there. Land claim permits have been issued. In the next month or so, you're going to see some activity down on that
Very
site.
good with long wait.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. I have one other thing. The city did, 4 or 5 years ago, we had an award that was given to a business that had a very, very nice architectural design on their new building. And we did it for several times, recognizing them for being aware of the concept that Sebastian has been following, the fishing village theme. And it just fell silent for some reason or another. And we've had a couple of very nice projects completed. And I would like to make a motion that we bring that back, bring that award back, and have the commissioners submit buildings, projects that are in the city, obviously, that meet that criteria of following along with a very nice, tastefully done project, so that we could give them a plaque, I think is what we did before. And getting commissioner input on it, along with the 2 or 3 members of the staff, to and it might also be appropriate, and I would yield to the staff on this, as far as having the council vote on that as well. What is the thought on that?
Sorry, respectfully, I'm not the city attorney, but I think that he would state that this is council matters. It's something that you all consider at this point. It's not something you make a motion on or vote on. But if you'd like to, if it's the overriding feeling or decision of the commission, you could put it on the next month's agenda for further discussion, if you would like. But at this point, under commission matters, you shouldn't be voting on things. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, we could bring it back
for consideration,
with the recommendation to council that we bring that award back. There's so many things that are happening that are positive that kind of slip away. And it's happening here, and we've had the AT&T building. That's phenomenal. You drive by that and you look at it. That's nice. That follows things. And so that's what triggered my thought that we had it before and we should bring it back. So if that's the way we should proceed on it, then we'll make a recommendation to council then that they consider bringing it back. I would withdraw my earlier motion and just put it in the form of a suggestion to City Council that this award be brought back at their discretion, at their time, with the criteria they choose.
Would you like us to place that on the next meeting's agenda for that motion to move it, that recommendation to be moved to City Council? We'd be happy to do that. And we can, at the same time, flush out some of the old awards and the old process so that you can all understand what happened prior and what we might be able to do now, if that's all right with you, Mr. Chair. Okay.
That's fine. Let's put it on the agenda. And, well, just what do the other commissioners feel about it? Is that something that we should be doing, or? I just like the thought of doing something positive, you know? There's a lot of negative things that keep bouncing around, and that's definitely positive. And, you know, they worked hard on that design. I know they did. That's just one example. But in other businesses go through the same thing. You know, working hard on a design, they work with the staff and get all kinds of input, and then we have a perfect example. So let's do that. Any other items under Commissioners' Matters? All right, I see that we did rearrange the agenda, Attorney Anand, our city attorney, and we see that you're here. It's appropriate you should walk in now because we finished item 11, Commissioners' Matters, and the next item would be City Attorney's Matters. Do you have any, or do you want to defer on that at this point?
I have nothing for the commission. Thank you.
Okay. The staff matters.
Excuse me. Just one item. Shortly after, about a week after our quasi-judicial hearing of the special use for the Caliber Car Wash, the applicant has withdrawn their application. So it is not proceeding to City Council. They have just politely said, we were, withdrawing our application. We will look for another location. If it's in Sebastian, they would, call us for help, but they have withdrawn their application. So I just wanted to follow up on that hearing that you had.
Okay. And what was the name of that? Sorry, I didn't.
That was the Caliber Car Wash.
Oh.
Yeah, that was
okay.
a special use.
Oh, you missed that.
We were forwarding a recommended denial to City Council.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that then concludes those items 8 through 13 that we moved up on the agenda. So at this point, we need to adjourn the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and convene the local planning agency. And for those of you that are here, there are two separate portions of our responsibility as commissioners and to the city. So we need to keep the meeting separate, and that's why we're going to adjourn the Planning and Zoning Commission and go to the local planning agency public hearings, and we'll proceed through that, close that, and then come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting later on. As far as the sequence goes on this part of the meeting and the items to be addressed, we'll open the hearing. The city attorney will read the ordinance and resolution or title. We'll have a staff presentation, and at that point, there'll be public input. And if you're planning to speak on that particular item, for sake of our technical writer, Janet Graham, who is here on Zoom, as we know earlier, please say your name, and then, if you would, please spell it. That'll help her to make sure she has it right for the minutes. She's working on a perfect record, so we want to keep it that way. And then at that point, after the public input, we'll close the hearing, commissioners, and the commissioners themselves will deliberate on that particular item, and then we'll have a recommendation vote by the commission at that point with action. So each one of the items on the agenda, A, B, C, whoops, I'm looking at the wrong one. A, B, C, D, E, F will be discussed separately. And so we'll make sure that we're clear as far as which one we're talking about, so that you'll know when you would like to speak in the public input on any of those. I did hear that there was an item tabled. I would like to defer to Lisa Fraser on that. Which item that is, and
Mr. Chair, I respectfully request that you do that when it's that item's number, not before. And that's going to be 6B. I'm sorry, 6C. I apologize. All the Marine Resources Council items.
Okay.
And at that time, we can possibly take it up and discuss.
that's fine. I just didn't know the proper sequence on that. So what we'll do then, we will look at item 6A, which is a legislative public hearing and recommendation of City Council. This is something that the state has passed and is mandated. If I could ask the city attorney to cover that for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. The first item today before the local planning agency public hearing will be item 6A, and that will be LPA Legislative Public Hearing, Recommendation to City Council, City of Sebastian Comprehensive Plan 2040. The new element is called now Private Property Rights Element 10.
Okay, thank you. In our packet, I read something, and at this point, I'll call on the staff to cover the document that we're looking at for recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know we all thought that we were completed with our comprehensive plan 2040, but no, there's more. So the state legislation just passed that in June 29th, 2021, that all local governments had to add a new element called the private property rights element. It's a Bill of Rights. So we have added element 10, and we could not proceed with any adoption of any changes to our comprehensive plan, such as the future land use maps that we have before you this evening, until this element is also adopted. So at the same time, we're going to be sending this element along with whatever future land use maps this commission and the city council want to transmit up to DEO. The attachments that you have provide you with Florida Statute 163.3177, excuse me, with the required and optional elements of the comprehensive plan. This is, you'll see that Exhibit A, the private property rights element, is almost identical with the bill. This is what's being recommended by the DEO to include and submit up to them. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions from the commission, but it really is as simple as that.
In this statute, why is saying optional on the heading?
Well, because they're saying that you can use these words or you can do something else.
Okay.
But most of the municipalities are just going with this.
Okay. I'm just looking at statute
Unless you want me to add some special words, Mr. Okay.
That's fine. So what we're looking at forwarding on is that Exhibit A that's attached with a nice pretty green heading and the private property rights element. That's what we're going to be forwarding on to City Council with our recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners have any comments or questions about that? Looks pretty straightforward. In other words, I don't think we have much leeway.
I would like to make a motion that we recommend to City Council to adopt the private property rights element, Exhibit A, into our comprehensive plan.
We have a motion.
I second.
Mr. Chair, would you like to have public input before the vote? I'm sorry.
Good idea.
Oh,
Good idea.
my sheet's getting too scribbled up here. I missed that point. I'm sorry.
No, it's a point of order. You can have your first and second, but before you do vote, have the public input.
Yeah.
Now you can deliberate on that.
Okay. Then, two choices. Would you like to withdraw the motion or?
If we have the motion in a second, let's hear the public input now.
Okay. We had a
Yeah.
second. That was Mr. Quiselbosh or?
Yes.
Okay.
Only one Kittelbosch.
That's true. Okay, then, is there any public input on the legislative public hearing with regard to the private property rights that the state of Florida has mandated every city to add to their plan? I don't see a big crowd, so I guess that means no public input. Anyone on Zoom that
No one has raised their hand.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a motion and a second. Are there any commissioners' deliberations on this?
One more point of order.
Yes.
Just close the hearing and then deliberate.
Okay. Close the public input? Okay. Okay, we'll close the public input on that public rights amendment element, and at this point then, any deliberations, or are we ready for a vote? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to forward this to City Council.
Let's approve this.
Okay, Janet, may we have a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes?
Mr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Kizzelbosh?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Eugen?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
And Ms. Cottenberg?
Yes.
It is unanimous and it is approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item would be item 6B. We'll open discussion on that with asking the city attorney to read the proposed ordinance on that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Next item is 6B and Bravo, and it's the LPA legislative public hearing, recommendation to City Council, comprehensive plan, future land use amendment, Sound View at Sebastian west of US Highway 1, Code RE Partner, Inc., applicants, Section 2, Township 31 South, Range 39 East. Subject parcels are 29.57 acres, more or less. Request is for change from the county CI commercial industrial and city commercial general land use to city mixed use.
Thank you. Staff comments, presentation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
with your permission, may I put this map up for the
Please
general
do.
public to
Yes, so the
also
audience
see?
can see it as well.
Can I do the thing you're doing here? I should have warned you. I apologize. I should have done that. How do I do this? Thank you. Well, I'm going to stand here. There you go. I produced this map, and am I on? Okay. I produced this map for the Planning and Zoning Commission, LPA, and I apologize. We should have probably had it available for the general public so they know where you are in the world here. So, of course, this is Sebastian, and right now we're talking about Sound View of Sebastian. It is located generally here north of Publix. Here's Barber. Here's US 1. Here's the railroad, okay? So I'm going to leave it there, but we don't need to keep it up the whole time if you don't want. What we're looking at is a 29.5 roughly acre parcel. 9.57 acres already is existing in the city, okay? 22 acres have been requested to be annexed into the city. In accordance with our comprehensive plan, anything greater than 10 acres needs to have a future land use map associated with any annexation. So this property, the developers or applicants, Code RE Partners, requested that they come in with a mixed-use future land use designation, because what they're proposing to put in is a mixture of as well as some commercial parcels on US 1. This is located on US 1. That is an applicable location for this type of use. We're rather excited to have another mixed-use development in the city. We have answered under item 6, comprehensive plan consistency. We feel that it is meeting the consistency criteria of the comprehensive plan. I am here to answer any of the questions that you might have regarding our assessment of the property or the applicant's submission on the property.
Just have a quick...
Maybe you could just clarify, please, that when you say mixed use, I know, but not everyone does know what that could mean.
Yes, sir. So when we updated our comprehensive plan 2040, we added a land use called mixed use. The purpose of that land use designation was to address these properties that wanted to have more of a residential, retail, commercial type of use that creates a sense of space and place for those uses. How am I trying to say this? So that we reduce the amount of vehicular traffic. We can provide maybe a higher density for apartments or condos, multifamily. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. Yeah. So the words are not flowing like they should.
It's okay. We had the development credits.
So, in the mixed use, land use, we're allowing light industrial, general commercial, multifamily, and single family to reside together and again, kind of address that urbanized area a little bit more. And we feel that this location, which again is right off a main corridor, US 1, adjacent to the railroad, it's in a position to provide that connectivity for individuals who may be residing at this multifamily units, for bus service right off US 1, connectivity to a shopping center, which is the public shopping center, and provide that type of mixed environment that we're looking for. So that was the intent that we all came up with when we added it to the comprehensive plan. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
And it's something I think noted that this is something that we've strived to do, provide a variety of housing so that, those city employees and those others who would have an opportunity to live within the city. And also, as you point out, a good connection to shopping and conveniences nearby, walking distance. Let's see, I heard someone over here had a question.
I have.
Mr. Casino.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The parcel which is already in a city, that's the only we're changing to mixed use.
It is changing to mixed use.
From commercial to mixed use.
Correct.
Only which is located already in the city.
There's two parcels. So there's one just north of Publix, and then there's the one on the side.
And the rest of the parcel which are in the county, we're changing for commercial, industrial, right? For commercial.
Correct.
Right.
Two
So those won't be mixed use, which is all.
No, everything is going to be mixed use.
Well,
Everything is going to change. The parcels from the city and the parcel in the county is going to change to mixed use.
The way I'm reading the heading on the, so title way I'm reading, that's what it's saying, only property that's in the city, that'll be mixed use, the other will be for commercial industrial to commercial industrial. Only thing we're bringing to the city, those properties.
No, I'm sorry. This says it's a change from the county CI and the city CG to city mixed use. So all 29 and a half acres are going to change to mixed use for the land use. That is their request.
So they won't, mixed use would be, the part will be commercial and part will be the residential, something like that.
Correct. And so then this gives them that flexibility then to designate and to do a plating, if they will, if they choose to
Yeah.
designate which tracks could be commercial, general, or residential.
All right, because it's reading number 3, requested action, that's what it is.
Right,
It's wrong.
exactly. So everything is moving to the city mixed
Yeah.
use.
Whole
Does that-
thing will be mixed use.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other?
And just the other, any other intention for that property other than residential?
Well, that's what I was
I know we got
explaining,
the
that
mixed use, so that's my,
they have shared with us, and we do not have a site plan, of course, but they have shared with us that their intent is to have some attainable apartments and have apartment complex, and then have out parcels of commercial. And so when they shared that with us, we recommended that they then go with a mixed use, so that then they'll come in later to change their zoning to whatever's appropriate.
so it may possibly be a gas station or convenience store or something to serve the
Possibly, but I'm not
residents.
sure that's allowable on US 1, correct?
That's
It'll
allowable,
ultimately come
yeah.
down to the zoning that they require. This
Exactly.
is just establishing the land use.
That's
right.
When they come in with the zoning, that will establish the zoning districts that they want, how many acreage they want for this or that, and then what zoning will dictate the permitted and conditional uses that would be allowed there.
All right, thanks.
That's correct. And you know, they may want to parcel it up or set up different tracks that have those designations. You see what I'm saying?
So each part will require a site plan or something similar to that to move forward. So
Final site plan.
this
Correct.
is just kind of setting the framework
Right.
of the ground rules for it.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's good. Commissioners, any other questions?
I do have one question.
Okay.
This may not be the proper time to ask it, but it looks like they plan on perhaps building the development with the apartments or rentals, like they're saying 12 units per acre. Did I read that correctly? 12.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
12
getting-
units per acre, is that what they anticipate as far as the,
I think that's their desire, and in the mixed use, they're allowed to, with incentives, go up to 12 units per acre. Whether they end up being able to get 12 units per acre all depends on their site plan, of course, but, and how much of the area they can use. But that, if you recall, in the mixed use, we allow going up to 12 units per acre with incentives. So we've explained that to them, that attainable housing is certainly an incentive, connectivity, multi-use, transportation, those type of items allow that. And we haven't quantified those things yet.
I understand that, but
Okay.
that's not exactly what we're approving tonight, correct?
No, sir. We're just allowing them to have that underlying land use.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then we'll close the commissioner's point, and we will have public input at this point. Any of those attending wish to speak on this particular item 6B? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom holding up their hand?
No, there is not.
There is not. So let's close then the public input on that. And any deliberations by the commissioners on this further discussion before we decide how to move forward on this? Hearing none, then we're
Look for a motion.
ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion, thanks. I can't. I'm out tonight.
Well, I will make a motion then that we approve item 6B, the LPA legislative public hearing recommendation to City Council the comprehensive plan, future land use amendment, Soundview at Sebastian, west of US Highway 1 code RE Partners, Inc. as the applicant, with the legal description that's in item B. It's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Mr. Simmons? Okay, I made the motion, Janet, and Mr. Simmons made the second.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions on the motion, commissioners?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just a point of order, if I might, for the city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, does the motion need to include that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as I have stated under the conclusions?
You could amend the, I hate this. Yes, you can amend the motion that pertaining to what Ms. Lisa was just talking about, that be consistent with the comp plan.
If you read, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if you read at the end on page 3, conclusion, it says the requested land use change from county CI and city CG to MU is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and staff supports the recommendation.
I'm not hearing what you're saying, I'm sorry.
Okay, I believe that it is important that we are consistent when in these motions to the city council, that we recognize that these future land use map amendments are consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I would respectfully request that that statement is added to motions that are made in relation to the future land use map amendments.
So just point of order, just, Mr. Roth, you made your initial, you can just amend it to be consistent with the comp plan as recommended by staff in the report, and then I think Mr. Simmons can agree to second it and then move forward.
Question, where is that on the agenda?
I'm sorry, in the back, in your, under conclusions.
I just want to know for future reference.
Yes, if you look under conclusions. I don't mean to confuse the issue. It's just, we're making a future land use map amendment, and I think it's important that we recognize that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, because that is what the LPA is here for. So I would recommend that we add that verbiage, if that's okay with you, sir.
So be it, let's add it. I can't find it, and I
Okay,
don't want to
I'm
misspeak.
sorry. If I may approach.
Page 3.
Okay. I will amend my motion to include the requested land use change from county C1 and city CG to MU is consistent with a comprehensive plan, and staff supports a recommendation of approval to the city council from the LPA. Do you accept the second, Mr. Simmons, or the modification to the motion?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. Now we're in complete compliance. Commissioners have any questions before we have roll call and vote? Janet, would you proceed with a roll call on the vote for the item 6B, Soundview at Sebastian?
Yes. Mr. Roth?
Yes?
Mr. Kizelbosh?
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Hugan?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes. Did I enter twice?
and Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
It is unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you, Janet. Motion is passed, and the Sebastian Plan Commission forwards to City Council a favorable recommendation on the .6B sound view at Sebastian. Item 6C, I believe, has been tabled. Ms. Fraser, would you provide the background on that?
Yes, sir.
particular
So,
item? I believe it
I'm sorry.
interrelates to another item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. So items number 6C and items number 7A will need to be opened up for this hearing, of course, and then we're requesting that it be tabled until December 2nd, 2021 for the regular PZLPA meeting. Unfortunately, the newspaper did not publish this particular public hearing notification for the Marine Resources Council properties. So they are apologetic and take full responsibility. However, we cannot address it this evening, and we'll have to table it and take it up on December 2nd after the newspaper ad has been properly placed. So that is the only reason that it is being requested that it be tabled. And I believe we need a vote on that, correct, sir? Yes.
So we are officially tabling that. Commissioners, please hang on to your packets and bring them at that meeting. We'll save the staff some work.
I believe
Right.
that we need a vote on that, sir, in order to table it.
Okay?
The hearing needs to be opened and then a motion to table it to a date certain.
Motion appropriate, or do we just?
I believe, did you open the hearing? I think you did.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you opened the hearing, so now we just take a vote on tabling it, if you so choose.
I would make a motion that item C be tabled until our December meeting due to the lack of appropriate publication.
I'll second that.
December 2nd. You must state December 2nd.
To our December 2nd meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Janet, did you get that? Louise Kaltenberg made a motion, and Robert Hugen seconded it.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Robert Hugen.
Okay, yes, I got that. Thank you. All right. Ms. Cottenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Hugen,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Roth,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Same thing.
No,
Yes.
because you're answering for Mr. Hewlett.
Mr. Kizzelbosh,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez.
Yes. Yeah, Mr.
The vote was in favor, unanimous, so the motion carries.
Thank you. So item 6C is tabled at this meeting and will be reopened at the December 2nd, 2021 meeting of the LPA. That brings us to item 6D. City Attorney Anand, could you read that, what we're looking at, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. This is the LPA Legislative Public Hearing. Item 6D is in Delta. It's a recommendation to the City Council for a comprehensive plan, future land use amendment. It's Fisher and 99th Street. Henry A. Fisher is the applicant. Legal description, Section 20, Township 31 South, Range 39 East, Subject parcel is about 1.47 acres, more or less. Request is for the change from the county commercial industry land use to the city industrial land use.
Thank you, Attorney Anand. Staff presentation, please.
Please. Where are we? My big finger here. We are looking at this 1.5, less than 1.5 acre parcel just south of the Vicar Groves mine, right there, okay? So Dr. Fisher has requested annexation of this 1.47 acre parcel into the city, and as part of his request, he is changing the future land use to from the county commercial industrial to the city's industrial. His future plans, though we have no site plans, of course, is to pretty much maintain the use as it is today, which supports the mining activity and the industrial activity along that area. In the future, I believe it shall be consumed or utilized with whatever development happens once the mine operation has been formally closed. Again, we have no plans at this time, but staff feels that it is compatible and consistent with the comprehensive plan. Policy 1-1.3.7 states that a high priority shall be given to reserving strategically located lands adaptive to the unique location requirements of industry. We know that this is industrial needs there at this location. It's all industrial uses. And if it should be consumed or part of a larger residential area, this particular use could still be for outside storage or parking or civic uses. I mean, it has a lot of multi-purpose uses in the industrial area. So we feel that this is a good request. We've addressed all of the consistency items and are here to answer your questions.
It doesn't look like that property is on any street. Is that correct? Or is that just a property boundary that goes through the northern property?
You're correct, sir, that this property's access is through the Vickers Grove Mines property, and therefore it has been verified that it would obviously, any type of use on it would have to show access to the Industrial Park Boulevard Road or be a part of the larger development, which it is today. It's part of that larger development that's already in the city.
So right now it is landlocked?
It kind of is. It's in the county, and the Vickers Grove is part of the city, but it's a shared use for that Vickers Grove mine, so it will continue to be so.
I'd read somewhere there a right-of-way issue or an easement that has to be abandoned in this?
There is an easement around the property, and the applicant's attorney is here if we want to get more information regarding that. It's a easement without a name. It's not a right-of-way easement. It's not a utility easement. It's just this easement around two sides of the property. And Mr. Warren Dill has submitted a letter explaining that in your packet, that it really doesn't do anything. They were going to abandon it with the county because it's held with the county, but I'm not sure where we are in the process at this point, if it's still proceeding or if it's been completed, but it has nothing to do with right-of-way, as far as I know. And
So
again,
we'd be waiting-
Mr. Dill is here to address that if you'd
Oh,
like
okay.
further.
I just had a question if we anticipated any problems with the county on providing that abandonment.
I do not at this point. But
Very
again,
good.
Mr. Dill is here if you'd like to hear more from him.
Okay, we thank you for the staff presentation on that. At this point, we'll open the meeting for public input on this particular project. Is there anyone here in attendance wishing to speak on that project? Please remember to spell your name as well.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman and agency members. My name is Warren Dill, D-I-L-L. I'm the attorney for Dr. Fisher, and I think I'll just address the easement issue first. When we were preparing this application, I did a title search, and I discovered that there was a question about two 12-foot strips of land, one on the north, which is contiguous with Dr. Fisher's property, where the sand mine is, the Vickers sand mine. And the other one is on the western side. And it says that there are two 12-foot strips of land reserved for future roads. That's what it says. So what I've done is I filed an application with the county for the county to vacate any interest that they might have in those two 12-foot strips. And they've already assured me they don't have any interest in it. But they took my client's $1,000 for the application, and they will be, in the near future, moving to vacate those strips to the extent they have any interest in them. So it's been a process trying to get this through the county. When the county vacates property like that, they have to go through the utilities, AT&T, FP&L, Comcast, and there was a delay with FP&L. Apparently, when it went out to the FP&L, it got misplaced, and then when it came back, it got misplaced by the county. But anyway, everything has been found. FP&L has no objection. AT&T has no objection. Comcast has no objection. So I feel pretty darn confident that the county commissioners will move to vacate any interest they have, and we should have that done in the next 30 days at this point.
That's terrific.
Just for the record, where are those two strips located?
Well, one strip is on the northern side, which is, as I said, contiguous with the Vickers Grove mine property. And that is the access, that's how that property is accessed. It's how it's always been accessed, and it's how it will, in the future, continue to be accessed. And the other strip of land is on the western side, which there's nothing over there. It's all vacant land. Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we knew where it was.
So you're referring to the, I'm sorry, Joe. You're referring to the current road that leads into the sand mine.
Well, well, when I say west, no,
well, I know there's two strips.
The road is on the east that leads into it. Mm-hmm. On the opposite side would be the west, and that's where it is. The road leading into it is actually a private road. Dr. Fisher owns that.
Oh, he does, okay.
And it connects with 99th Street. So 99th is a public road, of course, and then you turn north when you get to Industrial Park Boulevard, I believe it's called.
That's a relief that Dr. Fisher owns that street.
Yes, he does. And that's the access to the Vickers.
Into the sand mine.
Sand mine.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I can discuss this more if you want me to, or I'll just answer questions if you have any.
Well, if there's anything else more relevant that you'd like to add at this point, feel free. If not, we can move forward.
Well, I would like to point out that the staff has reviewed this, and their professional opinion is that it's compliant with the comprehensive plan, and they recommend that you recommend to the council that they approve the land use change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this project? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom with their hand raised?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the public input on that item. So we'll close the public input, and if the commissioners have any further discussion, deliberation. Questions of staff? I see none. If not, then we're in a position for a motion by a commissioner.
Mr. Chair, if I can, this is very similar to the other one. The conclusion, the recommendation will be that similar language about it to be consistent with the comp plan. So when anyone makes their motion, just look at page 2 in this case, and there's that same conclusion.
But please do not say that staff supports a recommendation. Please say the LPA supports a recommendation. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, officer.
Okay, I guess nobody else wants to say anything, so it'll be me. I would like to make a motion that we recommend to City Council the approval of item D, LPA, Legislative Comprehensive Future Land Use Amendment. This is the applicant is Henry A. Fisher, Section 20, Township 31, with the change of land use from county commercial industrial to city industrial. This is this proposed land use change is not in conflict with the comp plan. In other words, it conforms to the comp plan. And in fact, I'm delighted to see a map correction. So that is my motion. You can leave off my last comment.
Second.
So Mr. Kottenberg made the motion and Mr. Quisselbosch seconded it. Are we prepared for roll call? Janet, would you proceed with the roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Kottenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Quisselbosch?
Yes.
Mr. Eugen?
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez?
Yes.
It is unanimous and motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate your support, commissioners. The next item on our agenda is still in the LPA planning section. This will be item 6E. Could we have City Attorney Nunn read that one for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is item 6, Echoes, LPA Legislative Public Hearing, recommendation to City Council, the Comprehensive Plan Future and Land Use Amendment, Fisher, US 1, Henry A. Fisher applicant. The description is Section 17, Township 31, South, Range 39, East. Subject parcel is 6.17 acres, more or less. Request is for a change from the county commercial industry land use to the city commercial general land use.
Thank you. Our staff is ready with the staff report.
Thank you. And again, my big finger's pointing at it. This is the Fisher 6.17 acre parcel right up here, adjacent to the tip of Vickers Grove, but on the, east side of the railroad tracks, west side of US 1. Again, this is another annexation request. So the applicant has requested that the property be changed from the county commercial industrial to the city's GC, General Commercial Land Use. The property, like I stated, is 6.17 acres. For CG land use is to accommodate general retail sales and services, highway-oriented sales and services, and other general commercial activities. So this designation is generally located in highly accessible areas adjacent to major arterials. This promotes the image and function of the urban core, which is the city's center for commerce. General commercial land uses comprise only 2.6% of the total land uses in the city. So it's nice to welcome more of the CG land uses along a major arterial. And we feel that this is in conformance with the long-range plans of the city. We once again have addressed the comprehensive plan consistency items in number 6 and conclude that staff supports a recommendation of approval to the City Council from the LPA.
Okay, thank you for the staff report. I was just trying to clarify exactly where that was on my nice colorful map that you provided, Lisa. At this point, we would ask for anyone from the public who would like to comment on item 6E, change to the comprehensive plan future land use.
Good evening, Chairman, agency members. My name is Warren Dill, D-I-L-L. I represent Dr. Fisher on this application tonight. You have a very thorough staff report in front of you. The property is on US 1. It's, I think it's one track down from Schuman Drive. Schuman, I believe, is to the south of this. It's currently in the county with a commercial industrial classification on it. We're proposing to bring it into the city and with a general commercial land use classification, which would actually restrict a number of the uses that can be put on the property right now under the county zoning. It's close to a residential area on the other side of the railroad tracks. And this restriction on uses would be potentially helpful to those folks. From a financial standpoint, it's vacant land, but the money it brings in right now is going strictly to the county. And when it's annexed, it will go to the city of Sebastian. There are no immediate plans to develop the property. Dr. Fisher was asked to bring in some of his parcels by the city, and he's doing that. What I was going to say is that the uses that he may propose is he has a trade center, something like that might go in there. It's 6 acres of land, or like a business park, a commercial business park he's thinking about for the property as a ultimate use down the road. But right now, he's being consistent with his word to the city that he would annex these properties into the city. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Quick one. He's already got a trade center that's north of Schuman, correct?
The trade center?
South of Schuman.
No, I think it's north.
It's north?
Yeah.
Yeah, so something similar.
Well, I don't know. The trade center, I believe, is a larger piece of property than this. This is 6 acres.
That's a little larger than this 6 acres.
Yes.
So I'm familiar with that. So.
Right.
All right, good. I'm just thinking the positioning on this, when you come out of Schuman, you got that pet store that's closed. Mm-hmm. Then there's a residential home.
Well, the residential home
he's zoned.
It's really a commercial piece of property.
Right. But a residential house. And then it's the tire center, is that it?
No, then
No.
the Fisher's property.
Then the
Then
Fisher's
it's
property is
Fisher's
the
property.
next one. And,
Okay, so just the property in between that and then the garage tire.
Then they're further to the south.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Cristino. You clarified my question as to exactly where it was. I drove by it and couldn't figure it out. Anyone else from the public who would like to speak on that project, on that item? Seeing no race to the front, we'll move forward then and ask, is there anyone on Zoom with their hand raised to speak on this?
There is no one.
None, okay. Then we can quickly move forward on our agenda, and we'll close the public input on this particular item, item 6D, and ask if the commissioners have any further deliberations on this or questions of staff. Hearing none. We're prepared for motion if someone would be ready to do so.
I make a motion for item 6C, recommendation to City Council, Fisher property, 6.17 acre, to request a change from county commercial industrial land use to city general commercial land use, which is consistent with the city comprehensive plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I have a question here. Yeah. Mr. Quiselbosh made the motion, Mr. Carter seconded it. Now, did Attorney Anand, did that motion include the specific language you needed as far as the land use?
Yes, he did read that.
He did.
I mean, I'll defer to Lisa in this case, but he did was, as long as it's consistent with the
city
comp plan, I think that would be sufficient.
Okay, that's fine. So we have a good motion on the floor and a second. Any questions before we vote? No. Call the question. Would you please, and Jan, you did get who made the motion and the second?
Yes, it was made by Mr. Kizelbosh and seconded by Mr. Carter.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Please call the roll for the vote.
All right. Mr. Kizelbosh.
Yes.
Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Eugen.
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
And Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
Again, it is unanimous and the motion passes.
Good. We'll forward this on then to council for the favorable. That leads us to item number F, which is the F like Frank. The last item in the LPA section. Attorney Anand, would you please read that in for us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is item 6F as in Foxtrot. It's LPA Legislative Public Hearing Recommendation to City Council for the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Amendment, Cross Creek Addition. Henry A. Fisher is the applicant. Description is Section 31, Township 39 South, Range 30 East. The subject parcel is about 19.58 acres, more or less, and this request for change from the county rural to city very low density land use.
Thank you. May we have the staff report? Getting your exercise tonight.
You know, my Fitbit's thanking you. So this is the Cross Creek Estate addition. It's down in the southern part of the city. It's surrounded on three sides by the city. So again, this is a request by Dr. Fisher for an annexation of these almost 20 acres. The request is moving from county rural, our rural designation, to the VLD, very low-density residential, which is compatible with the existing adjacent Cross Creek Lake Estate development. The applicant does not have a proposed site plan for the subject property at this time. Excuse me. However, it has been presented that this property, as well as the 20 acres adjacent to the east, are proposed to become part of the existing platted development. So this will just become an extension, if you will, of the Cross Creek Lake Estates development. The land use element states that the VLDR shall be comprised of primarily single-family detached homes on individual lots. So staff feels that this is consistent with this part of the city, the long-range plans for this part of the city. This area is located and surrounded by single-family neighborhoods, which should remain undisturbed by the encroachment of potentially incompatible non-residential development. That is in our policy 1-1.2.7 and objective 1-2.2, where we look for the prevention of urban sprawl. When we build neighborhoods within neighborhoods, we are staying consistent with the long-range plans for those type of neighborhoods, and we are not creating sprawl, which is, you know, low-density development out in the middle of nowhere, and then we have to bring infrastructure to it and travel time and all of that. So I feel that this is, we feel, the staff feels that this is consistent with our comprehensive plan, and we support a recommendation of approval to City Council.
Thank you. You and the staff have been very busy on all of this mountain of paperwork and making sure everything is correct. And
exactly.
Thank you. We're not through with it yet, but okay. At this point, then, we will, with a staff presentation, we'll open the meeting for anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item, which is commonly labeled on the agenda as 6F. Frank, to come forward and give your name and spell it. We have a repeat appearance here.
Good evening, Chairman, agency members. My name is Warren Dill, D-I-L-L. I'm here to represent Dr. Fisher tonight with this land use plan change. I'm going first tonight. I'm probably not going to be the only one to speak. I believe there's some other folks in the audience that may want to get up and address you. So I would like to reserve some time to come back up to the podium to respond to any comments that may be made about the development. I would advise you that we're only here tonight for the land use plan. There are no development plans coming before you tonight. There'll be in the future. There'll be a public hearing when the subdivision plat comes before you, and the public will have another opportunity to step in and express their concerns or hopefully their support for the project. This property is it's obviously currently in the county. It has a county classification of rural, which is 1 unit per acre. But I can tell you from working with the county that they're phasing this out over time, and they're moving into what they consider to be the L1 category for land use, which is up to 3 units per acre. So it's really identical with what the city has to offer. And this property, because of its location, is ideal for the county if we had to develop in the county, which we don't want to. the density would be identical with what we would be getting in the city on this project. So I can also tell you from experience, and many of you might know this, that Dr. Fisher does not develop to 3 units per acre when he does projects. Normally they're 1.8, 2.5, somewhere in that range. And this one, we do not anticipate, and based upon the preliminary information that I have seen, it's not going to be up to 3 units per acre. It will be below that number in here. Because he likes to build for, design his subdivision for certain builders in the community, and they're wanting larger lots. For some reason, people want larger homes these days. Although there are a number of folks that are downsizing. You've seen that with some of your other developments where they come in and they're smaller lots. But with Dr. Fisher's project, his builders want larger lots. So that's why we don't really even get near the 3 units per acre number. I guess if you want to look at it abstractly, 3 units per acre times almost 20 acres would be 58 units an acre on that property. But I can tell you with assurance that we're not going to go anywhere near that number. Probably closer to 30 units per acre. I mean, for the entire 20 acres on that property. As you've heard, this property is surrounded on 3 sides by the city. 2 sides are within Cross Creek Lake Estates, an existing subdivision that Dr. Fisher is developing. And this will be the final and last phase of that development, these parcels. We already have preliminary plat approval for the parcel right next to it, which is about 25 acres, thanks to certain people. However, Dr. Fisher was able to acquire this property after we had preliminary plat approval. And he was excited about that because there are certain things he wanted to do for the community. One was to put in a second main entrance. We have 2 emergency access points right now and 1 main entrance. Main entrance is over on, I call it Power Line. I can't remember the number of the road, but over on Power Line Road. And we will be putting in an identical entrance. I use the word identical loosely. It will be a main entrance with gates. It will close and be locked at nighttime and all that on the west side of this project. The gate will actually be on this property that we have before you tonight. And another item that Dr. Fisher was excited about is the potential for boat and RV parking. When the project was being developed over the years, there were representations that there would be boats and RV parking spaces. And there are, but there are minimal. I believe there's like 14 spaces available or to become available in the immediate future. We're working with the city to get a site plan approved for it. And as soon as that's finished, it'll be open. The engineer's working with the city right now to accommodate that. But the good news is we're going to go up to maybe 45 boat parking, maybe 50 boat parking spaces. It's undetermined yet. But it will be a much larger area in the southwest corner of this property, which should make a number of residents in there happy. The staff has reviewed this project carefully, and they've concluded that we are consistent with your comprehensive plan. It's certainly consistent with the development scheme within Cross Creek. These people will be subject to the same deed restrictions, the same covenants, same bylaws that the existing residents are subject to. Same monthly assessments. It's going to be part and parcel with the existing development that's there. These people do not get any kind of special treatment. They get the same treatment as everybody else in there. I don't have any more at this moment. But as I said, I'd like to reserve a few minutes in case it's necessary for me to come back and perhaps explain anything that might have been brought up. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind. Just to clarify it now. I looked at this and I was heartened, and I believe I spoke to Dory. It looks like you've got a way out for your second exit now that's much easier than the one that we had discussed going on to Shakespeare with that tight turn.
Correct.
So,
That will be closed, completely closed, once we get this actual.
Yeah, I was never comfortable with that, and it looks like you've got an ideal situation for that second exit now.
Yes, yes. It was designed so that that people can go straight out.
I believe, looks much better.
That's correct.
Terrific. Much improved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak on this project? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dr. Jeff Carrier, C-A-R-R-I-E-R. I'm a marine scientist here. I never would have thought of leaving time for a rebuttal, as an attorney might, so I think there'll be other folks who will speak to concerns that I bring up. I appreciate the work you put into reading, hopefully, all 280 pages of your attached material. I read this. I have some concerns about this development. I live on Landfair, which is essentially adjacent to the proposed development. I applaud staff, particularly for looking at the low density impact that this development will have, with a maximum set at 3 dwelling units per acre, and the proposed development coming in at 3, or as Mr. Gill indicated, perhaps 2 units. While we might not like to see development, it's going to happen, so minimal impact would be advantageous. There are some other concerns in the on or about page 160 of tonight's attachment. There is some reference to annexing an additional 20 acres to this 19.58 acres that's proposed in this particular agenda item. And that will come at another time, perhaps, if in fact the developers wish to do that. However, taken together, this additional 40 acres provides an impact that might not be immediately apparent in your review of this evening. Ingress and egress from this area is a concern, certainly for us, because we see that unless Mr. Fisher and his associates acquire land a little bit to the south, where they can actually get ingress and egress through 510, this might be a potential issue. And if that's the case, it has the potential to direct traffic up into a very, very small developed area where we live. The streets are very short, they're very curved. Some adjacent houses that have been built recently on Landfair, for example, the incoming vehicles that brought in construction supplies and concrete actually destroyed portions of one of our neighbor's yards. She actually had to put rocks up to prevent the trucks from destroying this. These corners are not made for large vehicles to successfully make the turns, and we have a concern that as this particular development is undertaken eventually, that construction vehicles here probably, this is not a neighborhood that was designed for that kind of flow-through. Furthermore, within the document, there's an indication that there might be an extension of Shakespeare all the way down to intercept 510. Shakespeare, as was mentioned by one of your members this evening, is a one-way street that's a single lane. And the infrastructure is such and the easements are such that it's unlikely that that road could be expanded, which means it would stay single lane up to where the proposed ingress would be. If you have a map in front of you, that would be Meridian Street. And it would be from Meridian, presumably, to 510 that the 25-foot easement is projected within or right-of-way is projected within this document. That still provides a tremendous amount of traffic in this area. If the development goes to its full 40 acres, and if these roads are in fact constructed, I have other concerns that a biologist would have. I'm actually on the Natural Resources Board, and we're looking at a low impact development. We're looking at development that's consistent with the comp plan that says that we will take into consideration environmental concerns. There is a small amount of wetland in this area. There is some native vegetation in this area that's very sensitive. So I guess my comments are more preemptive than anything else. You can count on us being back here when this plat plan is finally developed and when these are brought forward to the council. But we at least wanted to raise these issues. If in fact you're going to approve this, and I assume you will, we applaud the low density and we think that's prudent. The potential for up to 5 units per acre as might have been projected before would just be incompatible with that particular area. So we're in favor with a very low density. We have concerns about ingress and egress because approving this, while we're not talking about traffic patterns and engineering at this point, these will have to be done and there are going to be considerable concerns down the road. And if your attention is drawn to those now and you're kept aware of these as we proceed with development of this particular area, we'd like to keep those have you keep those in mind. So you can count on seeing us again. We'll want to follow this as it progresses. So thank you very much for your time.
Well,
We
thank you.
encourage you to do that.
Okay.
Public input is always welcome. That's why we always have part of our agenda. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think we should have 5 minutes for each one.
My name's Michael Roth, R-O-T-H. I live at 474 Memorial Avenue. I've lived there 25 or 26 years. This is, Memorial is adjacent to Shakespeare, which is adjacent to the old fish farm, which is the property we're talking about. We went through this several years ago when the original development started, and they wanted to cut roads through our neighborhood. At that time, the city turned Mr. Fisher down. Mr. Dill, I don't know why you keep saying that the people in that development don't get any special treatment. You reiterated that a few times. I don't know why you had that need to say that. But I know that the Fisher and company weren't happy when those roads didn't go through. I was told by Mr. Fisher's son that this wasn't the last of it. He was going to get his roads through there. I hope that's not the case now. We do live in a very quiet neighborhood. Shakespeare is a one-way. When I first moved there, it was a two-way. You had to pull up into somebody's driveway to get out of the way.
To get out.
Yeah.
And we did that. That was no problem because there weren't that many folks living back there. It's a very quiet community back there. We would like to keep it that way. We all, I think, my neighbors and myself, I think we understand there is going to be development. We can't stand in the way of that. We're not going to stop that. But I think we would like to see the development. Low density is a wonderful thing for our neighborhood. I think we would like to see the development contained and the entrance and egress stick to Powerline Road. You know, stay off of Shakespeare, stay off of Landfair, stay off of Memorial, stay off of all those little side streets. Please don't cut a road through there to 510 or to Powerline Road, because if it is a gated community, that's going to be an entrance to the community. So those people are going to be able to go through and then exit the community to Powerline Road, but we, the neighbors, won't be able to go through there if it's a gated community, because, what's that?
I'm sorry, it's not appropriate, but the right-of-way that would be given would be for public right-of-way. So you would be able to access, but it's not going through all the way, as you rightfully state.
I'm sorry?
What I'm stating is that the right-of-way that's being provided or being proposed to provide, it would be public right-of-way, so you would have access for that.
So they are proposing a road to cut through there?
They're proposing to set aside right-of-way should the rest of the properties down to 510 also accommodate that. But I'm just stating that it would be a public right-of-way for your use also. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
I don't think that really appeases anybody.
Probably not.
You know.
No, probably not. I just wanted to make sure that you all would know
we were promised a big 25-foot berm We were promised all kinds of stuff with the original development. We have no 25-foot berm. We went years before we even had shrubs planted along there, you know? I just hope after Mr. Fisher gets his way, that you think of the people that have been living in that little area back there for many, many years. I see about 100 years or 120 years worth of living in that community, that little development back there. That little neighborhood, not development. I see about 120
Anything
years.
you'd like to add in conclusion?
I'm sorry?
Anything you'd like to add
No,
in
that's all.
conclusion?
I just wanted to get my point out there. The entrance and the egress for our neighborhood is very important. It's very
Okay,
important.
well, it does need to come back for a final site plan approval.
Yes.
And those things will be considered. We're well aware of Shakespeare and the problems on that.
You're well aware of that?
So,
Oh, yeah.
yes. I've
been back
down
there?
there.
Have you
yeah.
been back there yourself, sir?
I have
Yeah.
several times. I know folks who live there.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I've been
good,
back
good.
there.
Well, I'm glad you have been. I'm
So-
glad you took a look at it. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Roth.
thank you very much for your
Yes, sir.
comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak on the project?
Good evening. My name is Amy Speak, S-P-E-A-K. I also reside back on Memorial, 441 Memorial. And once again, yes, we want the low density, but we have significant concerns as brought up by both of the gentlemen prior to me. I have young children. We get cars down our road, but I feel that if they do have a gate, as Mr. Dill had pointed out, that there's going to be a gate to access the neighborhood, that is going to have a huge impact on our neighborhood. Power line and 510, they need to figure out a way, to buy more property or get an access to go that way. 50 houses plus another 20 acres, let's say it ends up, let's just conservative, go 70 homes. That's 70 cars up and down 2 small roads potentially every day. We don't get that in a month, other than the people that live back there. So I just really want you to think about the future impact that it would cause on us who have lived back there for 25, 26, 17 years, families. Those roads are not made for it. Our streets have 8 houses on it. It's not Concha, it's not Barber Street. Coming down Shakespeare, as you said, you've been there before, you go 10 miles an hour. We have gopher turtles that get fed daily by our neighbors. They're out there, the gopher turtles. We have bunnies, we have hawks, we have owls. I just fear that it's really going to take away from what Sebastian really is. I do mortgages. I'm all for growth. I'm not saying don't do the neighborhood. I'm just saying do the neighborhood right. Do it right, where it's not causing harm and just to disrupt our peace. That's all. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. And yes, I heard comments about a gate, but that's in the final plans here, so we can't count on things like that until we see the final plan. Anyone else to speak on the project?
Like to speak up, or anyone on Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom to speak on the project?
No, sir.
Okay, that concludes the public input, and we'll close public input on that project.
Mr. Chair, were you going to give Mr. Dill an opportunity to come back? It's up to you.
Was there a need to do that?
He asked, he reserved some time to address it, that's all.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me. I'm not going to take much of your time here.
Could you speak up a little bit, please, or change the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate you indulging me for a minute. I'm not going to take much of your time. I understand the concerns that these residents have. We all have experienced some inconvenience through development in our neighborhood, whether it's just building a house next door or it's putting in a development. We, in the past, have done the best we can to accommodate the neighbors. It's a physical impossibility for us to access Power Line Road. There is no more land over there. We cannot go through Cross Creek and put another entrance in. There are homes all along there. This is the only means of ingress and egress to this property. And we are going to have as low a density as possible in there. I can't tell the neighbors that there won't be some inconvenience because we all know there'll be some inconvenience. It won't last forever. The market's pretty good. I can't tell you how long the development can take, but it should not take long. Hopefully it won't take long.
Okay, well,
And that's all I really have tonight. Their comments are good comments, but they're really not relevant to the land use tonight. Thank you.
they were relevant to their opinions. That'll close the input on that particular project. Commissioners have any further discussion, questions, comments?
I have a question. I know that when we originally approved the plats, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yes,
We
sir.
approved the plats, and the exit onto Shakespeare basically was for an emergency. But I think the folks there don't understand what the power line situation. The city, the codes require that these be 400 feet, is it, apart?
Yes, well, and with the addition of, you're correct, that 25 acres, which is already in the city, and I want to allay those fears that I did hear in the public input. There's 25 acres that are already in the city. It's already in the city. It's the piece of property just to the east of the subject property we were talking about this evening. It's already in the city. It already has a preliminary plat. And as part of that, we all required, in accordance with our regulations, that there had to be another exit entrance, well, exit at least. So they squoze in the emergency exit onto Shakespeare.
Yeah, which I never thought was going to work.
Okay.
But no,
I don't want to give an opinion, but yes,
I guess
sir.
my point being, I never saw a fire truck being able to make that turn. But
So-
you have to think about if we have a hurricane and a fire truck has to get in there and trees are all down at the main entrance, we have to have an alternative. And I thought that was originally the plan. I see people going out to Barber. That's the easiest way out of there. I have been down there many times. I've been through your neighborhoods, so I'm aware, of your concern. I live in a dead-end street, so I'd be a little up in arms. But I think the concern of this commission was that in the event of an emergency, we would like to have a direct line in there, not so much making your streets a raceway. Is this a possibility we were going to have a lock gate, Louise, I believe?
But today's
With the fire truck having the lock like we do up at,
Today
I think it's Laurel
application is
Reserve.
today application is for annexation.
I know, just for
annexation.
right.
So it's
I'm just
not
trying to
that.
address their concerns, but
I don't know at this point. All of our gated communities have a code so that emergency
Right.
and safety individuals can get through. But I just want to lay, I heard reference twice that there's another possible 20 acres coming in for an
I don't
annexation,
know.
and that's not what that is not under consideration, and I'm not even sure that that's possible. This 19.58 is coming in as an annexation as part of the already existing 25 acres to the east. So that's the only property available, I believe. But of course, I have no crystal ball. And that's all we're talking about this evening. There's no 70 acres in the mix.
Well, we'll
Thank
need to
you.
be extremely careful on that because I know that was an issue with the emergency gate that was set up. That I remember the whole discussion on the 400 feet and couldn't be closer than that. But, if we're adding more land and there's planning to be more houses there, that other entrance exit can't be just an emergency one. It's got to be another regular entrance exit. So somewhere has to be provided for, and if it can't be, then, we'll need to deal with it further somehow with another area, but, okay, let's see, we handled everything on that, so that'll close the public input on that, and this is actually part of the commissioners' deliberations anyway. Any other commissioners have questions, comments on this project that you'd like to discuss at this time before a motion? If not, we're open for a motion at this time on project 6F. Now, I will then make a motion for recommending approval for item 6F under our LPA legislative agenda, legislative public hearing agenda. In the Cross Creek Edition, 1820 Shakespeare Street, project location, request for action, change from county R, R rural to city LVD, very low density, is covered in attachment A. And I have too many papers here. I lost that other sentence I need to add. Oh, here it is.
Consistent with the comprehensive plan.
The requested land use change from county R to city VLD is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and staff supports a recommendation of approval to the city council from the LPA. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Mr. Alvarez, second.
Mr. Alvarez, second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. We'll have a roll call, please, Janet.
Yes. Mr. Eugen.
Yes.
Mr. Kizzelbosch.
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Roth.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
And Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Again, it is unanimous in favor of the motion, and the motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners. At this point, then, we will close the LPA section of our meeting, the local planning agency, and reopen the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this will be a quasi-judicial hearings. And we have 3 on the agenda. So let's first address item A. And is it appropriate for me to ask for the fact that it's tabled and the reason and reschedule?
That's fine, sir. You've opened up the public hearing, though.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, good. Well, then, yes, once again, we are requesting that this item be tabled for a time certain to the December 2nd, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting due to the inadvertent lack of the public noticing in the newspaper. And we will re-advertise at their expense and get it on to the December 2nd Planning and Zoning meeting.
Okay, so we're officially going to table that.
You do need to vote on it,
We
sir.
need to have a motion to table and a vote. So I will make a motion then that item 7A, the MRC Conservation Parcels Marine Resources Council of East Florida change from residential single family to city, C, is conservation, be tabled until December 2nd, at this meeting, at which point it will be reopened. Is there a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. I made the motion and Louise Kottenberg made the second.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Roth,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Ms. Kottenberg,
Yes?
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Kizilbosh,
Yes.
Mr. Eugen,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous and the motion passes.
Great, we all agreed. We're all on the same page. Save your documents, though. I'm trying to get points with Lisa and Dory by having you save your documents so they don't have to redo it. Okay, so that means we're now, let me just double check.
7A.
We now will go to, in a quasi-judicial hearing, item B. So we'll open that and ask the attorney to read the resolution for our consideration.
Before that, ask for any disclosures from ex parte communication?
Okay, that's item 2 here, but whatever. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications on this particular?
Which one is that?
Item B, which would
Yes.
be the Land Development Code rezoning amendment for
Yes,
Fisher.
I will excuse myself on that one.
Okay, you had ex parte communication.
Mr. Alvarez, just the ex partes, have you talked to the applicant, or are you formally excusing yourself from this hearing because you have to fill out that Section 8B form, that you have some financial connection to this sale?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to excuse yourself from this hearing.
Yes, I will, right now.
Okay, we have a special form that we'll need you to sign out, though, then, that
Okay.
we will attach to the meetings that I can get to you tomorrow and scan to it then?
No problem.
And you'll have to disclose your connection with that.
Okay, no problem.
Which is different from the ex parte. The ex parte is just if you've had any conversation or visited the site, anything like that, that is what's being asked of right now, and I'll get you the form tomorrow.
No problem. We're good. Can I excuse myself on this one, or?
And Manny, just for clarification,
I think you should excuse yourself from it, and I'm assuming it's a financial?
Yes.
Okay, roger that. So yeah, you should excuse, and you should have no input at all with the recommendation.
Manny, my question is should he have excused himself from the land use hearing?
That's what I'm just answering the question. He could excuse himself and not partake in a and you can probably add someone else if he needs, since we have a lot of extra people on the board. But yeah, he should excuse himself from the vote, and as well as, my opinion at least, removing himself from the board. That way he doesn't show or make any kind of comment.
Well, this is for the zoning. My question is for the land use. We've had the land use one. Should he have excused himself for the one that's already occurred? It wasn't a quasi, but it was a public hearing. It would have been item 6.
Right. This one.
Item 6D.
Well,
Streets, but this is water.
There was an ex parte at that time.
There wasn't. I just didn't know if he needed to.
Oh, that's why I heard fish on. This is land fair is what
Okay.
I saw. I went in there. And I said, this is illogical.
I'm sorry, for this meeting for this quasi that you are required to disclose any kind of ex parte communications as well as any kind of financial interest you might have in this one as well.
Yes.
It's just for this vote.
Okay, I'll step down here on this one? Okay.
We'll recommend you step down.
I would.
Go to the restaurant. Go to the restaurant.
Mr. Chair, just point of order, point of clarity here. I apologize. I did see the reading the ordinance, and maybe I should read the ordinance, and I apologize for that. I misread that. Those bullets, I'm getting tired myself.
What was the last part you went?
I'm just saying that I did misread the bullets. You are correct. I could have read the ordinance first and then the ex parte exclusion. But like I said, I missed the two bullets, and I apologize. But if you want, I can read the ordinance now.
And also
Please.
then, just for the record also, since Mr. Alvarez, who is a regular member, has stepped down from this hearing, the way we process for the alternates to step in, Ms. Jordan had done one time at this would be Mr. Cristino then would step in for this vote for Janet to let her to verify that Mr. Cristino will be voting in this hearing in place of Mr. Alvarez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dory. I wondered, but I'm glad you clarified it. Thank you. So, at this point,
yes.
Anyone else ex parte communication? Okay, then, at this point, we need to swear in all who intend to provide testimony.
There shouldn't be any swearing in, but first of all, let me go ahead and read the actual title in this case, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
7
That's right.
Bravo.
You did say that. I'm sorry.
I apologize. 7 Bravo. This is a planning and zoning quasi-judicial hearing. The recommendation to City Council is a land development code rezoning amendment for a specific site. It's Fisher at 99th Street. Henry A. Fisher is the applicant. Again, it's at Section 20, Township 31 South, Range 39 East. Subject parcel is 1.47 acres, more or less. Request is for a change from county light industrial to city industrial. I think the only witness would be our staff to be sworn in. Lawyers don't need to be sworn in. Yeah, I do. If you're going to get testimony. No, not for lawyers. Okay. Do you state both your names separately for the record? Do you swear or affirm that testimony or information you're about to provide before the Planning and Zoning Quasi-Judicial Commission here today on November 4th, 2021 is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or so affirm? Okay, thank you. You can be seated. Mr. Chair, the witnesses have been sworn.
Thank you. Point of order. I was chairman of this commission about 4 years ago when something came up involving Park Place and the approval of the addition. And I don't own land there or anything, but I was excused from the meeting and I could not sit in the chambers. And I'm only bringing it up, and I'm not picking on Mr. Alvarez, but I just want to make sure we're not in any conflict, because I was asked to leave the room, period.
I think that's fair. I thought Mr. Alvarez did, in fact, he left the chamber, so he left the dais. Never mind. Yeah, I would advise, just for this matter only, for him to step outside, and we'll have the sergeant at arms bring him back once we're done.
Okay. I'll tell you, it hurt me a lot because I thought it was false. It wasn't right. I didn't have any financial interest, but I did. Okay, moving forward then. Technicalities aside, please. We've had the swearing in, we've had the reading. The staff, could you present the findings and analysis?
The applicant.
Applicant first.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Question, was he sworn in?
Usually attorneys are not sworn in because we don't go up here and testify as to facts. We argue. That's what we do. We argue.
Is that correct? I'm asking another attorney what.
That is correct.
I'm caught in the middle. I can't win. I don't want to win.
It's correct what Mr. Warren stated. Usually we don't, when they're up here, they're not stating, it's not factual like what our staff will be doing. They're just here to argue their position for their client.
But he's presenting information.
But he's not required to be sworn in. He's a factual, he's an attorney representing his client on his case. He's not required to be sworn in.
Okay. Moving forward then.
Okay, Warren Dill, D-I-L-L. I represent Dr. Fisher, and this is the second half of the equation, the zoning. We've accomplished the land use change, and now we're just talking about the zoning. You've got a very thorough staff report in front of you. The property's the same, of course. The use, as was mentioned before, is going to, from the county IL, light industrial, to the city's IN, which is an industrial classification. It's consistent with all the property around it, including Dr. Fisher's property contiguous on the north side. I don't think there needs to be a lot more said about this. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. The applicant has addressed. Now we have the staff present findings and analysis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is a fairly straightforward request. 1.47 acres of an industrial enclave. Should it be annexed into the city, the applicant is requesting it get changed from the county light industrial to city industrial. This is consistent with the current uses of the property, and what did I want to say? That according to the industrial district zoning requirements, the designation is to provide limited industrial development permitting uses such as utilities, commercial retail, storage facilities, restaurants, trades, and skilled services, parking lots, clubs, and medical services. Applicable performance standards are in place to reduce impacts on adjacent residential districts, such as screening and buffer requirements, should that come about. The site and surrounding uses are currently operating as industrial. The staff is recommending this change and feel that it is consistent with the Land Development Code, and we support a recommendation of approval to the City Council from the PZ Commission.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, it's your opportunity to ask questions.
I've got a quick one. Joel?
Applicant and staff.
Oh. Do we still have an opportunity? Will there be any screening requirements for this parcel? It's all industrial there. I'm familiar with it.
At this point, there would not be, because it's just going to continue its current use, which is industrial.
Right. In the future, this could potentially be an access to a residential. We may want screening at that point.
Then the performance standards for industrial adjacent to in a residential development would come into play. Yes, sir.
All right. Very good. Thank you. That's all. Only question I had.
Any other questions by the commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Okay, at this point, we'll open for comments from any people on the floor or by Zoom, but none were sworn in, so. Anyone on Zoom to speak?
No, sir.
None. Okay, well at this point then we'll close that part of the meeting, or the hearing. Since there was really no comments by anyone else, but I'll ask, the applicant does have an opportunity to respond to any issues raised by the staff or public.
Warren Dill, thank you for the opportunity, but I have no comments to the staff report. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much. Staff, any further comments?
No, sir.
Commissioners, deliberation on this item? Comments, questions, discussion?
I have no questions.
Okay, hearing none, we are ready for a motion then. Someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the recommendation to City Council rezoning amendment for a specific site, Fisher 99th Street, Henry A. Fisher applicant, Section 20, Township 31 South, Range 39 East. Subject parcel is 1.47 acres, more or less. Request is for a change from county light industrial to city industrial.
Second.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter, second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second by Mr. Carter. Do you have that, Secretary
Yes.
Janet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Then let's proceed and have the roll call on that, please.
Yes. Mr. Kizzelbosh.
Yes.
Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Eugen.
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
And Mr. Cristino.
Yes.
It is unanimous and the motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners and staff. It will be forwarded on with a favorable recommendation to City Council. That will get us to item C. Again, a quasi-judicial hearing. We're to make a recommendation to City Council. Would you please read that in for us, please, Attorney Anand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is again item 7 Charlie. This is the planning and zoning quasi-judicial hearing recommendation to City Council, Land Development Code rezoning amendment for a specific site, Fisher US 1, Henry A. Fisher the applicant, Section 17, Township 31 South, Range 39 East. Subject parcel is 6.17 acres, more or less, and the request is for a change from the county commercial limited to city commercial general.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any ex parte communication on item C? Hearing none. Seeing none. Let's move forward then. Would the attorney please swear in those who are going to speak on this application?
Mr. Chair, the witnesses have been previously sworn.
Thank you. I'm glad you're speeding it up for us. I really appreciate that. Staff, could you present the findings on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This, again, is the second part of the equation, as Mr. Dill has stated. The 6.17 acres is located along US Highway 1. The current zoning is in the county for commercial limited, and they are requesting a change to CG, general commercial within the city, should this property be annexed into the city. According to the land use element, CG is to accommodate general retail sales and services, highway-oriented sales and services, and other general commercial activities. This designation is generally located in highly accessible areas adjacent to major arterials. This promotes the image and function of the urban core, which is the city's center for commerce, general commercial land uses comprise only 2.6% of the total land uses in the city. The establishment of commercial land uses along a major arterial is in conformance with the long-range plans of the city. The property is currently vacant and located along US Highway 1, a major transportation arterial. As the city grows, it's going to demand additional commercial uses to serve the residents, and this property can provide the needed commercial services along a major arterial urban corridor for the benefit of the residents and regional travelers. So staff recommends approval for this request and finds it consistent with the Land Development Code. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, your opportunity to ask questions of the applicant and
Mr. Chair, just point of order, the applicant has an opportunity to speak as well.
Pardon?
The applicant.
Presentation.
It's a different item, so the applicant gets an opportunity to present its case to the board.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Warren Dill here for Dr. Fisher. We certainly concur with the professional staff report you have on this item, and I really don't have anything to add to it except to let you know that I'm here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gill. I just blew it off. I skipped right over it. I didn't mean any ill intent of any kind.
My fault. I should have caught it earlier.
Should have now had the staff report, but we've had it, so we'll move forward. Thank you.
Long night.
Long evening.
What I need is a new cheat sheet for every one so I can X them off and not, anyway. So at this point, the commissioners can ask questions of the applicant and staff.
Mr. Chair, just point of order, and I apologize. I know there's no one in the room, but just so that the record is clear, if you could just announce that for the public, anyone wants to and on Zoom, no one's there, then close it up.
Then we will close the public input section on this and have the commissioners may ask questions of the applicant and the staff.
Okay, so once again, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, I'm talking about bullet number 7. I know there's no one here, but just so that the record is clear to allow anyone from the public to speak, anyone from Zoom, and then we can close it out and move forward. So the chair opens the floor to anyone in favor or opposing the request.
Well, according to my agenda, my list, that is the next thing. I was on the commissioners to ask questions of the applicant and staff. Then the commission chairman opens the floor for anyone in favor.
All right, that's where I'm at.
So which do we want to do?
At this point,
we just had the staff present the findings and analysis.
okay. And you want to ask questions to the applicant and our staff? You can ask them, and then you can open the floor.
Commissioners have any questions?
Any questions? No questions. We're good, Mr. Ross.
Okay, then, anyone in attendance or on Zoom wish to speak?
There's no one on Zoom.
And no one here? I shouldn't assume that. I appreciate the officer here in attendance tonight. We didn't need you, but your presence is very much welcome. So we will then
Motion.
Does the staff want to summarize anything in their comments from earlier?
No, thank you, sir.
Now the commission deliberation and questions. If we've already done that, then we can move forward.
Call for motion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would someone please make a motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion to request for a change from county commercial limited to city commercial general as part of item 6E. Can anybody?
I second.
Well, before you do you want to add the sentence that we need to add?
Okay, what do I need to add here?
No, we don't. Okay.
Who
That
seconded
was
it?
part of the LPA. Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Alvarez and a second by
Mr. Quisenbaugh.
Mr. Quisenbaugh.
And
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we would like to request Janet, when she does these minutes, to also add into that Mr. Alvarez has rejoined for this hearing, and he is back sitting as a voting member, regular member for this hearing.
Yes.
I will note that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have to add anything on that motion?
No, you're
Okay.
fine. You're fine. That was good. Okay, Janet, would you please call the roll for the...
Yes. Mr. Eugen.
Yes.
Mr. Kizelbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Roth.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Once again, it is unanimous and the motion passes.
Last but not least.
Thank you, Janet. You're doing an excellent job. That will conclude that item. Now we're at item 7D. Could I please have our city attorney read that in on our planning and zoning quasi-judicial section of the meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a planning and zoning quasi-judicial hearing, recommendation to the city council, land development code rezoning amendment for a specific site, Cross Creek addition, Henry A. Fisher, the applicant, section 31, township 39 south, range 30 east. Subject parcel is 19.58 acres, more or less, and the request is for a change from the county agricultural 1 to city residential single family. And once again, the witnesses are still sworn.
Thank you. Commissioners, disclose any ex parte communication at this point? Anyone? Any of the commissioners? No, we're clear. And everyone's been sworn in that will be providing testimony. The applicant is free to make a presentation at this point.
This should do it for the evening. Hi, I'm Warren Dill, D-I-L-L. I think I'm still Warren. I want to say that, your staff has done a professional job reviewing this matter. We certainly concur with the staff report, and this project is consistent with the RS zoning all around the property, including within Cross Creek and including next door in the Highlands. We will do our best to reduce all impacts of this. Unfortunately, 100% cannot be avoided. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you tonight for your time and your patience. it's a pleasure to be able to stand before you folks tonight, and we look forward to coming back to you with some more detailed plans when they're available in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Attorney Gill. Staff, your findings and analysis on this?
Yes,
Please.
sir. Thank you. So as stated, this is a 19.58 acre parcel that is in for request of annexation into the city. This request, the rezoning request before you tonight is from the county A1 to the city RS10 residential single family, which is compatible with the existing adjacent Cross Creek Lake Estates development. And in fact, all of the zoning surrounding it, except to the south, is RS10. The single-family residential district of RS10 is established to implement policies and performance standards for low-density development on lots of 10,000 square feet. This is compatible with all surrounding zoning within that residential area, so we are being consistent. A potential right-of-way alignment to CR 510 is being proposed. The additional road right-of-way will be a public road right-of-way, and is essential to provide access to CR 510 and provide alternative safety routes to residents within the Highland neighborhoods during evacuations and other emergency actions. The staff is requesting this rezoning and state that it is consistent with the zoning map, and staff supports a recommendation of approval to the City Council.
Thank you, Lisa and Dory. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit informal here. I should not be doing that. Do the commissioners have any questions of the applicant or staff?
I do.
Applicant.
I do.
Please proceed, Mrs. Cutler.
Thank you. I have a question for staff, and it's probably I just misunderstood something. But when we recommended that we bring this into the city, we were bringing it in as a zoning of VLD, very low density, and now we are saying
RS10.
RS10. Are those two the same things called something different, or?
No, ma'am, the VLD is for the land use, and this is the rezoning.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Scared me for a minute. I'm like, oh.
No, I had that in the other compartment, sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
No other questions.
No questions? I just have a comment that I want to offer, and that is this issue is, I think, something that needs to be looked at. There is wetlands there, and there is a need to really make sure that we address it properly, and I'm sure we will with regard to a second entrance exit. So at this point, I'd like to open it to anyone on the floor who would have a comment, question. Seeing none, we can't really. Is there anyone on Zoom with their hand raised?
No, there is not.
I think probably everyone out there may have gone to sleep. I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here with us and you're monitoring that for it. That's very important. The applicant want to provide any additional comment after issues raised by staff or public, since there weren't any other raised?
No, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing further to say. Thank you again for your time.
Okay, thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here. Staff, do you need to finalize anything or summarize anything on this project?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, any comments in the deliberation before we have a motion and a vote? Hearing none. We're prepared for a motion.
Guess it must be my turn. I would like to make a motion that we recommend to the City Council Land Development Code rezoning amendment for the Cross Creek Addition, Section 31, Township 29 South, Range 30 East, the subject parcel being approximately 19.58 acres. And the zoning is to be changed to City RS10.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. A motion by Louis Kaltenberg and a second by Mr. Simmons. Any questions on the motion? Okay, let's have a roll call in it, please. Janet?
Yes. Mr. Roth?
Yes?
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Kizelbosh?
Yes.
Mr. Hugan?
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez?
Yes.
It is unanimous and the motion carries.
So that will be forwarded on to City Council with a favorable recommendation, which I think that means every single one of the ones that we discussed tonight will be forwarded on. And it's incredible. They were all unanimous. That's great. Thank you, Commissioners, for sharing your thoughts and input, and we're all on the same page. That ends the meeting. For the good of the order, is there anything that the staff or city attorney needs to add? I'll raise the gavel. The meeting's adjourned.